My wife cheated on me with her boss, then secretly transferred $250, $0 of our savings to his account before divorcing me. And now she's claiming I'm the one trying to steal the house we bought for $700, $0, all while denying the affair. Hello everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now, let's begin the video. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. I never thought I'd be the guy to catch his wife cheating, especially not in such a brutal way. It's like one day everything was normal and the next my whole world just shattered into pieces. The most shocking part, it wasn't just some fling, it was her boss, a guy I always thought was just a professional, a decent enough guy. But turns out there was a lot I didn't see. And the worst part, she transferred $250, $0 of our savings to his account right before she walked out the door, claiming she was done and needed space. That's when I knew this was no ordinary affair. This was calculated, cold, and deeply personal. Honestly, I should have seen the signs. I noticed her phone buzzing nonstop, especially late at night. She'd get defensive when I asked about it, say it was work stuff or some client. But I started noticing her hiding her phone more, deleting messages, acting jittery whenever I came near. She also started dressing differently, more provocative, more sexy, as she called it. She'd make excuses about wanting to feel good about herself, but I felt like she was trying to send a message. Then there was her sudden obsession with her boss, Mark. She'd stay late at the office, claiming it was just work, but I could tell there was more. Her eyes would light up whenever she talked about him, and she'd get defensive if I ever asked her if she was cheating. One night, I decided to follow her. I didn't think I'd find anything, but I just had this gut feeling. She left the house around 9 p.m. and I followed her to a fancy hotel downtown. I parked a few blocks away, watching her walk in with her purse clutched tightly. I waited, heart pounding, until I saw them come out, her and Mark, both looking a little too close, and she looked flushed, like she just had sex. That was the moment I knew. I felt sick. I wanted to confront her right then and there, but I knew I had to gather proof first. The next day I went through her emails and texts on her laptop when she was out. That's when I found it, a series of exchanges between her and Mark, full of flirty messages, plans to meet, and even some explicit talk. But what hit me hardest was a bank statement attached to an email showing a transfer of $250, $0 from our joint account into Mark's personal account. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. That money was supposed to be for our future, for the house we bought together. She had secretly transferred it before she left, like she was planning to disappear with everything. I felt numb. It was like the ground had shifted beneath me. How could she do this? How could she betray me so completely? I spent the next couple of days in a fog trying to process it all. I did want to believe she was capable of such cold, calculated betrayal, but the evidence was right there. The money, the affair, everything. I felt angry, betrayed, humiliated. I kept replaying the moments when she'd lie about her whereabouts, when she'd kiss me goodbye and then go meet him. It was like I'd been living with a stranger all along. I kept asking myself how I missed all of this, how I didn't see the signs sooner. It was a crushing realization that the woman I loved had been cheating on me with her boss and stealing from us at the same time. I knew I had to confront her. I couldn't just let her get away with it. But I also knew that whatever I said, she'd probably deny everything, twist it around, and make me seem like the crazy one. She was good at lying, especially when it suited her. I decided to wait until she came home that evening, to catch her in the act or get some answers. I wanted to see her face when I told her I knew everything. I wanted her to know I wasn't stupid. When she finally came back, she was her usual bitchy self, throwing attitude and acting like she was the victim. She started denying everything, claiming I was paranoid, that I was trying to control her, that I was jealous and insecure. She even had the nerve to say I was imagining things, that I was crazy for even suspecting her of cheating. That's when I snapped. I told her I had proof, the emails, the bank transfer, everything. Her face twisted in anger, then in defiance. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You're just jealous because I don't want to sleep with a loser like you anymore." I couldn't believe how she lied so effortlessly, how she could turn the tables and make me feel guilty for catching her. It felt like a punch to the gut. I felt a mix of rage, heartbreak, and disgust. How could she do this to me? How could she betray everything we built? I was furious, but I also felt devastated. I thought I knew her. I thought she loved me. Turns out she was just using me, lying to my face, all while planning her escape with Mark and our savings. I realized I was just a stepping stone for her, a paycheck, a fool who trusted her. That's when I knew I had to make her pay for what she did. After that night, everything changed. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and couldn't stop thinking about how deeply I'd been played. The woman I married, the woman I trusted with everything, she was gone. Instead, I was left with a stranger who had lied, cheated, and stolen from me. The betrayal cut so deep I wondered how I ever let it get this far. I kept replaying her words, her lies, her sneers. She kept insisting I was paranoid, that I was imagining things, but I had concrete evidence now. That didn't matter to her. All she cared about was saving her own skin, and apparently that meant destroying me in the process. I knew I had to act fast. The money was gone, transferred into Mark's account, and she'd already started the divorce process. She wanted to make it look like I was the one trying to take her to court over the house, but I knew the truth. I had to find a way to turn the tables. I started digging into her financials more thoroughly, trying to track down where that money went. I hired a private investigator, not that I wanted to, but I needed to see if there was more to her story. As I suspected, she was planning her exit for weeks, maybe even months. She kept telling everyone she was just unhappy, but I saw through her lies. She was planning her escape with Mark, and she wanted to take everything I had worked for. The day I found out about the transfer, I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach all over again. She had secretly moved $500,000 out of our account, and she did it right before she left. That money was supposed to be our future, our safety net, the down payment on our dream house. Instead, she drained it, and now she was claiming I was trying to steal the house we bought for $700, $0. I couldn't believe how brazen she was. She was trying to turn it around, making me look like the bad guy. She started accusing me of controlling her, of being possessive, and she even claimed I was violent, all to paint herself as the victim. It was sickening. I remember her sitting there, bitchy as ever, telling me I was crazy for even suspecting her, that I was jealous of her success at work, that I was just insecure about losing her. Meanwhile, she was out screwing her boss and stealing from our future. I felt so many emotions: rage, betrayal, heartbreak, helplessness. I wanted to shake her, scream at her, make her see how much she'd hurt me, but I knew that wouldn't change anything. She was good at lying, at twisting words, at making herself look innocent. I felt like I was drowning in her lies. I knew I had to do something. I couldn't just let her walk away with everything, not without a fight. I was determined to get justice, even if that meant tearing her whole world apart. I started documenting everything: her lies, her texts, the bank transfers, the emails. I wanted proof for the divorce, proof that she was a liar and a thief. I also began to think about how to get that money back. I wasn't naive. I knew she'd hidden it somewhere, maybe even sent it offshore. I wasn't going to let her get away with this. I was going to make sure she paid for what she did. Her reaction to my confrontation was classic. She doubled down, acting like I was the crazy one. She accused me of being possessive, controlling, and abusive, all because I dared to question her. She threw in a few tears, calling me a loser, and insisted she was the victim. I couldn't believe her audacity. She kept lying, twisting every fact to suit her narrative. Her bitchy attitude made my blood boil. I felt like I was dealing with a professional manipulator, someone who thrived on chaos and confusion. I was hurt, furious, and more determined than ever to expose her. That's when I realized I couldn't trust her at all. Every word, every smile, every excuse was just part of her game. She was good at hiding her true self, but I'd seen enough. I knew she was planning her escape, with her boss, with my money, and probably with her reputation. I started planning my next move: how to get my money back, how to protect what was left of my life, and how to confront her once and for all. The betrayal was staggering, and I knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. But I also knew I couldn't let her win. Not after everything. The days that followed were a blur of legal consultations, late-night research, and trying to piece together what was left of my life. I couldn't believe she had the nerve to accuse me of trying to steal the house we bought for $700, $0. That house was supposed to be our future, our sanctuary. But now it felt like a battlefield. She was claiming I was the one trying to grab everything, when in reality, she was the one who'd already taken what she wanted, our savings, our trust, and her dignity. I started digging into the house's legal papers, looking for any loopholes or clues about who owned what. It was clear she was trying to spin the story, making herself out to be the victim, but I wasn't falling for it. I had proof she transferred money, and I had a feeling she was trying to hide more. I began to suspect she'd set up accounts offshore or sent the money to some shell company. I couldn't let her get away with it. I also reached out to a divorce lawyer who confirmed that I had a solid case. But the thing was, I didn't want just the house or the money back. I wanted her to pay for what she did. Meanwhile, she kept up the act, acting like she was the wronged wife, the victim of my supposed paranoia. She would call me crazy, say I was possessive, and accuse me of trying to control her life. But I saw through her bullshit. She'd always been bitchy, but now she was downright malicious. Every time she looked at me, I saw the contempt, the disgust, like I was just some obstacle she had to get rid of. She'd throw tantrums, scream and cry, trying to manipulate everyone around her. But I wasn't buying her act anymore. The worst part, she insisted she was leaving because she was unhappy, that she was doing this for her own happiness, and that I was holding her back. That was rich coming from someone who'd been sneaking around behind my back, stealing from us, and lying to my face. She even claimed she had no choice. That Mark had convinced her she deserved better. That sickens me. She was so good at twisting the narrative that even her closest friends started to doubt me. I knew I had to act fast before she managed to completely ruin me. I started gathering more evidence of her affair, screenshots of their chats, emails, even some photos she'd taken of herself and Mark together. I wasn't interested in revenge for revenge's sake, but I needed to make her see the damage she'd done. I also contacted the bank, demanding detailed statements, trying to trace every penny she'd transferred out. I wasn't about to let her walk away with all our savings, especially not after she'd lied and cheated her way into it. I wanted her to feel the weight of her betrayal, to understand that I wasn't going to let her destroy what little was left of us. Her reaction when I confronted her with all this, she lost her temper. She called me crazy, jealous, and possessive again, but her voice was shrill, her face flushed with rage. She insisted she was the one who'd been wronged, that I was attacking her for no reason. She claimed I was trying to ruin her life, even though she was the one who'd been cheating, stealing, and lying from the start. Her bitchy attitude only made me angrier. I saw right through her act. She was trying to gaslight me, to make me doubt my own perception. I told her she could deny everything, spin her stories and call me names, but the truth was right there in black and white. She'd betrayed me worse than I could have imagined, and she was trying to manipulate her way out of it. I felt a mixture of disgust and heartbreak. How did I let it get this far? How did I miss all the warning signs? The woman I loved was gone, replaced by someone cold, selfish, and malicious. I knew I couldn't fix this overnight, but I was determined to fight for what was rightfully mine. I wanted her out of my life, and I wanted her to face the consequences of her actions. The betrayal cut so deep I wasn't sure I'd ever recover, but I knew I had to try. I owed myself that much. The legal process was a nightmare. I never imagined I'd have to go through something like this, but there I was, sitting across from a lawyer, trying to piece together how to get her to give back what she stole and stop her from twisting everything in court. She was still denying everything, saying I was the one trying to take her house, that I was abusing her character, and that I'd been controlling her all along. It was infuriating. Every time she opened her mouth, I could see her bitchy smirk like she thought she'd already won. But I had the proof now, the bank statements, the emails, the texts. I was determined to make her pay for her lies. I also hired a private investigator just to find out if she'd hidden more money or moved assets offshore. It was a gamble, but I needed to be sure. Sure enough, he came back with some disturbing news. She transferred even more money into accounts in the Caribbean. That woman was ruthless. She planned this from the start, probably even before she started screwing her boss. It was like she'd been plotting her escape for months, and I was just too blind to see it. Now that money was gone and I was left holding the bag, fighting to get what was rightfully mine. Meanwhile, she kept up her act, trying to make me look like the bad guy. She accused me of being obsessive, paranoid, and abusive. Whenever I brought up the evidence, she'd cry, call me names, and throw tantrums in front of everyone. Her bitchy attitude was relentless. She even tried to turn our friends against me, saying I was crazy and jealous. But I wasn't going to let her manipulate people anymore. I knew the truth, and I had the proof to back it up. Every email, every transfer, every lie she told, I had it all documented. The worst part was her continued denial of the affair. She kept insisting she was just working late, that Mark was just a business associate, that nothing happened. But I knew better. I saw the photos, the texts, the secret meetings. She had been screwing her boss, and she'd been stealing from us at the same time. That realization hit me hard. She'd been lying to my face for months. I felt sick every time I thought about how she'd betrayed me, not just emotionally but financially as well. One afternoon, I confronted her again. I told her I had enough evidence to take her to court, that I was prepared to fight for the house, for the money, and for my reputation. Her response: she smirked and said, "You're just jealous because I found someone who actually cares about me. You're nothing but a loser. I don't need your money or your house." It was so typical of her, that bitchy, dismissive attitude. I wanted to punch her, but I held back. Instead, I just looked at her and said, "You're going to regret this. You're not getting away with it." She rolled her eyes and stormed out, but I knew this wasn't over. I started planning my next steps more carefully. I contacted a forensic accountant to see if I could trace her hidden assets and maybe recover some of the stolen money. I also began talking to other lawyers about filing for full custody of the house, because I didn't want her to get away with claiming I was trying to steal it when she was the one who'd already taken everything. Every day was a more lies, more manipulations, more evidence that she was trying to destroy me, but I refused to let her win. The emotional toll was brutal. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and angry, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I realized that I'd been blind for too long, giving her the benefit of the doubt, convincing myself she was just stressed or busy. But she was a master manipulator, and I'd been her target. The fact that she transferred that huge sum of money just before she left, that was the ultimate betrayal. She used me, lied to me, and then tried to turn the tables. I couldn't let her do this, not without facing the consequences. I was determined to fight for what was mine, my house, my money, my dignity. And I knew I'd have to be relentless if I wanted any hope of coming out of this still standing. The court date finally arrived, and I was a mess. I knew she'd be there, trying to spin her version of events, that I was an overbearing, jealous husband who was trying to control her. She looked bitchy as usual, with that smug expression, trying to act like the innocent victim. But I had all the evidence: the bank statements, the emails, the texts. I felt prepared, but also sick to my stomach, knowing I had to sit there and listen to her lie her way through it. When the hearing started, she immediately began her usual bullshit. She claimed the money transfer was a mistake, that she'd only moved it temporarily, and that I was trying to sabotage her happiness. She looked at the judge with that bitchy smirk, acting like she was the one who'd been wronged. She everything about the affair, even though I had photos and messages proving she'd been screwing Mark for months. Her attitude was so contemptuous, like I was just some obstacle she had to get rid of to get what she wanted. I took the stand and laid out everything I'd uncovered. I explained how she transferred the money without my knowledge, how she'd been cheating with her boss, and how she was trying to manipulate the situation. The judge looked at her and asked for her explanation. She spun her usual story about being stressed, unhappy, and wanting a fresh start, but her voice was shaky and her eyes darted around nervously. It was clear she was panicking. She tried to deny the affair outright, but I presented the evidence. Her face turned red with anger and she snapped at the judge, trying to dismiss the facts. Throughout the hearing, I felt a mixture of relief and fury. Relief because I was finally getting the truth out there, and fury because she'd hurt me so badly. I saw her bitchy attitude falter just a little when the judge questioned her about the money transfer. She tried to claim she'd made a mistake, but I knew better. That money was gone, and she'd planned her escape long before she left. The judge seemed skeptical, especially after I presented the detailed bank statements and correspondence. It was like watching her confidence crumble a little at a time. When it was over, the judge ruled in my favor on several points. She ordered her to return the stolen money and to cease any attempts to claim the house unlawfully. The house, which we bought for $700, $0, was awarded to me. Not because I was trying to steal it, but because I had a right to it and she was trying to manipulate the situation in her favor. I felt a strange mixture of vindication and exhaustion. This battle wasn't over yet, but I'd made a significant step. I had finally exposed her lies and the court was on my side. After the court session, I confronted her one last time. She was furious, bitching and screaming about how I'd ruined her life, how she was a victim, and how I was just a jealous loser. But I didn't care anymore. I had the proof, and I had the law on my side. I told her to pack her things and get out of my life for good. That was the moment I realized I was finally free from her manipulation. The betrayal had been devastating, but I was determined to rebuild. I knew she'd try to fight me through the divorce, but I was ready. That night I sat alone in the house we once shared, feeling a strange sense of emptiness. All the anger and fury had drained out of me, replaced by a quiet resolve. I had learned a lot about trust, deception, and how people can be so cold and calculating. I thought about how I'd been so blind for so long, ignoring the signs, convincing myself she loved me. But I also knew I'd come out stronger. The pain was real, but it was also a lesson. I'd never let myself be so vulnerable again. And as I looked around at the empty rooms, I promised myself I'd rebuild not just the house, but my life. Better, stronger, and more cautious than ever before. In the days that followed, I focused on putting everything behind me. The court's decision was a relief, but honestly, it didn't erase the pain of betrayal. Still, I felt a strange sense of closure, knowing I'd done everything I could to fight back. I started working on rebuilding my life piece by piece. The house was mine again, legally and emotionally, even if it felt emptier without her. I sold some of her stuff, cleaned out the space she'd once filled with her bitchy attitude and lies. It was a small step, but it helped me take control of what I could. I also learned a lot about trust, about people's true nature, and about myself. I realized I'd been too trusting, too eager to believe the best in someone who clearly had no intention of reciprocating that trust. But I also learned that I was capable of standing up for myself, of fighting for what's right, even when it feels hopeless. That's the biggest lesson. No matter how much someone betrays you, you have the power to take control of your life again. You just have to be willing to face the truth, no matter how ugly it gets. Looking back, I see how her bitchy, manipulative attitude was always there, hiding behind a pretty face and false promises. She thought she could get away with everything, that her lies and betrayals wouldn't catch up to her. But I proved her wrong. I took back what was mine, not just the house or the money, but my dignity. I realized I deserved better than someone who could lie so easily, who could cheat and steal and then turn around and play victim. That realization was freeing. It made me stronger than I ever thought I could be. To anyone out there going through something similar, trust your gut. Don't ignore the signs and don't be afraid to fight for yourself. The pain of betrayal is terrible, but it's also a wake-up call. It forces you to see who people really are and what you're truly worth. I won't lie, it's been a hell of a ride and I still have scars, but I'm healing and I'm learning to trust again slowly. Most importantly, I'm finally free from her bitchy, manipulative grip. I've reclaimed my life, and I'll never let anyone do that to me again.